So, hello everyone. Hope you're well. Looking forward to our short session today. Whatever amount of Dharma that you hear, that you contemplate, that you absorb your mind with, whatever amount, it's always beneficial, always auspicious, will bring good results. So no matter how short the meditation session or the chanting session or the Dharma talk you're hearing is, or how long it is, it will always bring good results. Maintain a good attitude, positive attitude, good intentions. Look after your mind well. Okay, so let's do the chanting now. Due to this, hang on a minute. I think I'll start with Pali. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gati gati para sungati bodhi soha. Tayata gati para sungati bodhi soha. Tayata gati para sungati bodhi soha. So now we can do some meditation, initially to release the tension from the body and also the tension from the mind. And then some breath meditation to practice samatha, calm abiding meditation, to develop samadhi, one-pointed concentration, and then also loving kindness meditation to develop more and more loving kindness. And just to remind you, this will be the last time that we'll do the loving kindness meditation in this spot, as we replace it with the giving-taking Tonglen meditation for the remainder of this commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. But still practice it yourself every day, okay? At least once. Actually, it's very helpful even if you start to get some sort of dislike or frustration or some sort of anger at someone else, towards someone else, even at yourself, then maybe you should practice a brief session of loving kindness meditation at that time and remind yourself of your good qualities, which you have in abundance. Okay, so today, after the meditations, we'll continue to have the commentary, the overview commentary on these 8 verses. I will reiterate, sort of like concluding a little bit of this overview, what I spoke about last week towards the end of class, because I rushed a little bit, and then finish the last 2 of them, which we didn't mention. And then also give you some more commentary, a little bit more, opening the door a little more as well on these 8 verses, and each one for the remainder of this class, whatever time we have left after the first bit I mentioned. And then next week as well. And then from the week after that, I'm hoping that we can start to do the commentary in detail, the extended commentary on each verse. Okay, so now you can close your eyes gently, lips touching gently, tongue resting on the upper palate in your mouth. Your whole body nice and relaxed as much as you can right now. Shoulders nice and relaxed, but not slouching. Bring your mind inside your body. And we'll start from the tips of the toes as per usual. Work our way up the body to the shoulders, down to the tips of the fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. And release the tension as you pass, as your mind passes these areas, you focus on these areas, then you release whatever tension you have at that time. There may be some areas in your body that you need to spend just a little bit more time on to release that tension. So let's take a few moments to do this now. Now scan your body again just to see if there's any more tension that you can release. When you are ready, bring your focus initially now to the tip of your nose. And as per usual, the object of the meditation is the breath. The feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs, and then back out to your nose again. Placing your mind onto the breath, or the feeling of the breath, as you breathe in and out. If any mental activity arises, any thoughts and the like arise, don't cling to them, don't grasp at them, don't try to force them away, and don't deny them. But gently and simply let them go naturally by replacing your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, wake it up a little bit by refocusing on the breath more brightly. You may also like to add the extra technique of counting to 10. One breath, or one in breath and one out breath is 1, and so on and so forth. Don't go past 10 though, because the breath is the object of meditation, not the counting. If you become distracted while counting towards 10, at that time, go back to 1. Remember, we're never in competition with ourselves or others. As we practice, we improve. Try not to fall back into old habits that you may have acquired over time, like distraction or even some negative thoughts. Let everything go as you focus on your breath. Past is gone, future's not here. Don't try too hard, don't try too little. So let's practice like this in silence now for a few minutes. So now we can feel pleased with ourselves for engaging in this short session and fill our whole being with universal loving kindness, utilizing the feeling of loving kindness, and also, if you like, some visualization where you visualize your whole being filling with the white light or white nectar. And now let's radiate this loving kindness out to others, initially to our loved ones, family and friends, filling them with the universal loving kindness too, and wishing that they are happy, free from suffering, they are peaceful. Really feel that this is happening, even though we are using our ability to visualize and to imagine. Really have the feeling that this is occurring right now. Now also include strangers, those people that you're indifferent towards. And also those that you find very difficult, may even regard as enemies. May all of these people be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. So let's now radiate the loving kindness from our own heart, distance-wise, further and further, initially around your immediate area, for all of the living beings that reside here, whether they live on the land or in the waters, fly through the air. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now let's radiate the loving kindness out throughout our whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout our whole country. As well as other countries, initially those that you're familiar with and have an affinity towards. Also those that you're indifferent towards or don't really know about. And even those that you may have some sort of negative feelings towards for whatever reason. Have your loving kindness pervade throughout all of these countries and throughout the oceans and all of the other waterways, throughout the whole world. Your loving kindness now is radiating to all living beings that live on this or in this world. Loving kindness all the way to the center of the earth and all the way to the outermost atmosphere. And now beyond this planet alone, to other planets throughout the solar system. And all of the solar systems throughout the galaxy. And all of the galaxies throughout the universe. To your loving kindness, your infinite, immeasurable loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Whilst also being present here and now, and we'll recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, rise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, rise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Okay, so like I said, I'll just reiterate what I spoke about last week. It's sort of concluding and it's starting to conclude these overviews of the 8 verses. You may recall that I had written some notes here, and I've also written more notes. Actually, I did these probably in about January, February, and so I haven't read them since then. and that on purpose, so that I just give you commentary off the top of my head. But you never know, there could be some parts that I'm repeating. But that's good too, isn't it? Familiarity tends to breed understanding, doesn't it? And familiarity helps us to become comfortable with things, even if they're difficult things. Okay, so just a moment while I sort myself out here. So the 8 verses, the first one, with the wish to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. So basically, what we're doing, if you think about it, and what I've mentioned to you in the past, is you actually, if you consider the idea of infinite living beings, whether our mind is capable of doing that or not, maybe we can consider 100 living beings. Think about them this side of us and ourselves sitting there by ourselves on this side. Interesting. Which one is more important? Obviously, the 100 living beings or the infinite living beings. Their well-being is more important than solely our own. Very difficult. Most people don't think like that. We are constantly looking after our own well-being. Or we think we are. Maybe we're engaging in the worldly actions. They feel like they're bringing us happiness, but ultimately they bring us suffering. Even if it's as simple as the happiness dissipating or going away. All right, so that's the first part. I won't read it out again because actually I did go into quite good detail last week with that one. But like I said, I went through these a little bit too quickly towards the end of class last week. And that's a trap that we can fall into with these Zoom classes, isn't it? Especially how, almost half the class is related to the practice of chanting and meditation. And then, of course, the last part is the Dharma Talk. Now, from this week, as I mentioned, we're not going to do the loving kindness meditation. We'll replace that with Tonglen, which means giving, taking meditation. And so I will introduce in a few minutes, I'll introduce that to you. We won't actually put it into practice right today because we've already done, half the class meditation. And so that way we get to experience this 7th verse that, of course, we will go into great detail when the time arrives. Then we can actually put that into practice in our meditations as well as in our everyday life. All right, so that's important to see, is everyday life. Sometimes I think that we leave our Dharma practice on the cushion and don't take it off the cushion. We forget about it. Get in the car, or to use an old metaphor, get your briefcase out and off you go into worldly ways again. But actually our goal, even if you are, not living in a temple or monastic, or, even if you are new to the Dharma, that you get to start to realize you can practice in everything you do. Cleaning your teeth, you can practice Dharma. Having a coffee, you can practice Dharma. When anger arises, practice Dharma. When intense happiness arises, practice Dharma. So, and remember that everything is impermanent. And impermanence so often has a negative connotation with it, but actually can have positive connotation as well. We can change things for the better. And if you want more teachings on that, when we actually, I think it was almost 2 years ago, when we were doing the commentary on the 5 skandhas, you can have a look on the YouTube channel at those classes, which I went into detail about what I just mentioned. All right, so imagine our own self, just one person, and imagine infinite living beings, or at least a large number of living beings. Obviously, we can perceive they are more important. Their well-being is more important than our own. The next little bit is we're looking up to all sentient beings. So the second verse is, when I'm with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. So my notes are, we are looking up to all sentient beings or thinking of them as our brothers. or sisters or mothers, fathers, while regarding ourselves as inferior to them. We are devoting our whole body, our mind, our entire being to the welfare of others, and that are now we are viewing them as supreme to ourselves. They are more important than us. Closely related, all of these verses are closely related to the previous ones, obviously. Continuation of this practice of transforming the mind. Okay, remember these 8 verses. If you want to know the history of them, then go back maybe 4, 5, 6 classes or something. I won't reiterate that, but just remember these are teachings coming right from the time of the Buddha, from the Buddha's mouth, Buddha's mind to ours. And then, of course, they were written down many years later in different traditions, in this case, the Tibetan tradition. And they were written down at that time so they wouldn't be forgotten or misunderstood, misconstrued over time by living beings. All right, so I'll leave that one there. If you haven't participated in the classes before, then for more detail, more overview, details within the overviews, then review the previous classes before this one, so I don't have to repeat. Number 3 is, in all actions, I will examine my mind, and the moment a disturbing attitude arises in danger of myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it. One must keep guard on one's thoughts. If one were guarding a house or a fortress, this is to be done with mindfulness and discriminating awareness. These two are like inner watchers of the mind, resembling internal police, you could say. Now, I often say, as you know, that our disturbing emotions or our mental afflictions are very shy. As soon as you pay pure awareness to them, they melt away. Just like the old example, I remember my grandma used to count to 10, and other people I knew, from previous generations, used to get angry and then count to 10 and their mind would calm down. And so that's taking their mind off the anger. And so at that moment, the anger goes away. Now, unless you address it and fix it properly and purify over time, eventually it will come back, because we have the strong, intense habit of having this anger and reacting to certain circumstances at different times like this. Okay, so but if we continually practice, eventually it becomes more natural to do so, as I just mentioned, and eventually this anger dissipates, becomes much smaller. We purify the gross aspects and get into more of the subtle aspects of these mental afflictions before we can totally uproot them eventually. Okay, so I think that one will do for that. We remember the disadvantages of our mental distortions and what effect they have upon oneself and others. We turn away from them. Otherwise, we lose peace of mind, contentment and reason and rationality, balance and a goodness of mind. All of these kleshas or mental afflictions, we find that anger and hatred are the most destructive. In the Bodhicharyavatara, the Way of the Bodhisattva by Master Shantideva, he mentions that even over 100,000 lifetimes of good actions get destroyed in that one moment of anger. So be very careful to not give in to the anger, even if it does arise through habits right now. Don't give in to it, realize it, then apply the 4 powers of purification. Regret this negativity arising, then have strong resolve not to have it arise again, or at the very least to work towards uprooting the reasons why it does arise. And do this towards the Buddha, your teachers, bodhisattvas, virtuous object, and you engage in the practice consistently. I say that you should practice these 4 powers every day. Even if if you are reciting a verse before it, within the 7 limb prayers, there's mentioned there. Okay, there's that one line, or you could do longer versions as well. Okay. So the 4th one is Whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear as if I have found a precious treasure. And so this one, we need to cultivate an affectionate concern for such sentient beings. Instead of thinking them as extremely sort of horrible or disgusting, we should feel as if we have found a precious treasure or a jewel or something very, very glorious, and accept this opportunity to help them very eagerly. And as we help them, we help ourselves. We have met many people that behave badly in our lives. How do we actually recognize that they're behaving badly? Because we also have behaved badly. Even if throughout this whole life we have been virtuous, then at some time in the past lives, we have behaved very badly. That's how we actually recognize it. Otherwise, it would be foreign to us, wouldn't it? So anyway, these living beings are in need of help. If you don't feel up to it yet, then do as the Buddha said in the Mahamangala Sutra and avoid hanging out with fools or people with such strong negativities for a period of time. But eventually, because we are practicing and developing this bodhicitta intention, this altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the welfare of others and help them to do likewise, then we actually eventually have to really face this. These types of living beings are, as is mentioned in this verse, they are treasures. And we should view them like this. Okay, the next verse is, let me just have a little look. When others out of jealousy mistreat me with slander, abuse, and so on, I will practice accepting the defeat and offering the victory to them. So number 5, there says we should have a special regard for the beings who, for whatever reason, have malicious intent towards us. They want to harm us even, whether it's from their jealousies or envy or whatever reason. Maybe we've harmed them in the past. Maybe they remember this. Maybe they don't remember this in the front of their mind, but it's left an imprint there. And whether they harm us physically or simply wish us harm, we should give them the victory. Let it go. Like I say, put down your mental baggage. This idea of vengeance or revenge or holding grudges, this is like us carrying mental weight around with us. It's not helpful. Plus, also, these living beings need to be helped to let go of these things. If somebody's throwing anger at you, for instance, or some sort of negativities, whether it be physical, verbal, even just a vibe, then actually you can just let it go. And, this remains with them at that time. And hopefully you can leave a positive or be a positive influence on them to not continually engage in such actions, whether it be towards you or to others. And we should think that these beings are very precious again. With such sentient beings, if their attitude of malice towards oneself leads to some sort of conflict, what is to be done is to just accept the defeat. Just let it be as it is. Now, this also helps you to let go of this pride, this arrogance that always wants to win. There's no such thing anyway. As soon as you want to win an argument, it's finished. You're bringing it now into the present moment. It's something else now. It has become something else, even though it appears to be the same. When someone I have benefited and in whom I place great trust hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. We should regard this person as our spiritual guru, our teacher, because they are helping us to develop patience. Patience is so important when we're practicing the 6 paramitas. As you remember, we did 9 months on this, but also practicing whatever practice you engage in, the 7-point cause and effect method, or contemplating and utilizing the 4 immeasurables to develop this bodhicitta. We need patience. So these types of living beings actually are helping us to be more patient. And we take what has happened as a tremendous opportunity, especially valuing this person as someone to be cherished, But why? Because he or she is giving us the opportunity to practice Dharma and realize our own imperfections. Because maybe we get angry, maybe we react, even if it's reacting through feeling disheartened or something like that. Actually, we get the opportunity to then look at our own mind, check our own intention. So very important. The Bodhisattva cultivates a desire to cherish others upon the basis of patience, that is, subduing of anger. The more one cultivates patience, the more it provides a foundation for the cultivation of the spirit of cherishing others more and more. Patience is something we can cultivate with regard to an enemy or any person who is ill-disposed towards ourselves. It is right to regard such a person as our spiritual guide at that time. In this sense, that he or she is great for our practice. So we look at an enemy or an ill-disposed person with special affection and even with respect as a person who is truly as helpful to oneself as our own best friend. As mentioned last week, our best friend or our loved ones tend to brush our ego a lot, don't they? They tend to sort of help us be more puffed up and maybe more complacent when it comes to our Dharma practice and our situation as a sentient being. So maybe we give up practicing at that time. So this type of person that's being nasty to us, even harming us, is actually more beneficial for our practice, as mentioned before. We simply think of their behavior as a kindness. And through that, we also, of course, remove the basis for the unhappiness which normally arises in such a situation. So what I'll do is, it's only a minute to go, so we have to leave it there. So in a sense, I just reiterated a little bit more detail than last week, and we didn't get any further into the overview, but that's all right. There's no time. So I would like you to contemplate these teachings in the next week. You can, as per normal, shoot me messages as you like, as many as you would like, and I'll get back to you, first of all in writing, and then address them in future classes as well. So lovely to see you again. I rejoice in your goodness, your meritorious goodness. Rejoice in your Dharma studies and practice and sharing. And I can see as well here my old friend I haven't seen for a long time, James. Nice to see you. It's been a while. I think last time I saw you was in Ladakh, in India, on the trip there. So, Tashi Delik. All right, take care.